Last year in Los Angeles alone, nearly 400 people died in teenage street gang violence. And just last weekend, a dozen people were wounded and one was killed in gang shootings in L.A. Afraid the violence won't stop, some police officials are critical of Hollywood. They've singled out Colors. It's a brand new cops and gangs movie starring Robert Duvall and Sean Penn, saying it could lead more kids into trouble. Joining us to talk about all of this, a former L.A. gang member who we will call Mike, a former Chicago gang member, now a college student, John Vergis?
Vergis, right.
Very good. And a caseworker with the Chicago Intervention Network, Donna Weems. Thank you all for joining us this morning. I saw Colors last week, and what little I know about the world of gangs, I get a sense that once kids are in, you can't get out. Is that really true?
No, it's not necessarily true. It all depends on the individual. If the individual has the encouragement and some help with other people, I'm sure that there's ways to get out and other things to do besides being in gangs.
But Mike, for the vast majority of kids, isn't it true that they feel like once they're in, they can't get out?
True. Because it seems like they're trapped. It's like they want a way out, but then they can't because they're not getting no inspiration from anybody. Because their mothers can be on drugs, people in their house doing bad, so the kids can rely on a gang.
Why'd you guys join gangs?
Basically, be a part of the crowd. You know, you want to feel accepted by the people in your neighborhood, and sometimes for some people that can be the only way to be accepted.
Mike's been out for a couple of weeks now. John, you've been out for about 2 years.
Yes, that's true.
Donna, what is the one point at which a kid can say, there's another way to do this?
I think you really have to start pretty early on, because what's happening is that there are a number of influences that greatly affect young people. For instance, the movie you just mentioned. It's going to, I think, have a really heavy impact on impressionable youngsters. I think that it's really incumbent upon us to really try to illustrate and provide some alternatives and do it repeatedly. I don't think there's any one point, because it's a continuing process.
Mm-hmm. Mike, what kinds of things were you involved in? Just because you hear about gangs, mm-hmm. and you may get some sensational headlines, but is it as bad as everybody says? I mean, did you carry weapons? Did you deal drugs? Were those the kinds of things the gang was involved in?
Yes, that's the kind of thing the gang's still involved in. But from the movie Colors, the whole movie is wrong. Mm-hmm. You know, it's Bloods against the Crips, but we not having war with Hispanics though. Like in the movie Colors, it don't go like that.
Yeah, because the gangs were were kind of integrated gangs. So are you saying it's more racially based fighting?
True, like it's Hispanics against Hispanics, blacks against blacks. Mm-hmm. But the movie don't make it look like that.
Oh, okay, all right. What kinds of things were you involved in? What kind of trouble were you getting into?
When I was very young, I was distributing some illegal substances, which I wouldn't want to say, but that and getting to really some bad fights sometimes, actual gang shootings and things like that, really bad stuff.
How tough is it for you to get kids to trust you, to believe that you've got a real message?
I think the sincerity shows through. Young people are constantly being preached at and talked at, and they can tell a phony in a moment. I agree with Mike that the movie was pretty erroneous and really dangerous because of the kind of message or mixed messages that it was delivering. And not to mention it, I think it just may well inspire some young people to do some things that maybe they hadn't quite thought about doing. But if you are sincere and are consistent with your message, and you're actually out there interacting with the young people, I think they can feel the sincerity. You've
been out for 2 years, you're going to college, you're studying engineering. Mm-hmm. How hard is it to do that in light of what your past has been like?
Well, I try to look forward instead of looking back, and if you look forward to going to college and being an engineer, it's not really as hard as it may seem. The hard part is behind me, you know, getting out of it. Now I'm on my way up forward to do better things.
Yeah. Mike, you've only been out for a couple of weeks. Is it hard staying on the outside of the gang world?
Nope.
You're hopeful that you're going to be
Can I make another comment on Colors?
Sure, go ahead. Everybody's going to be commenting about it.
Well, I feel that the movie is dealing with the expense of our lives, because after Colors, it's going to be more deaths in the streets of L.A.
All right. Mike, And John and Donna, thank you all for joining us this morning, and I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot more about this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
10 minutes before the hour, next, making music to help fight AIDS. Janice Ian joins us live.